Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Regal Beloit's webinar, Cracking the Code, Balancing Sanitation and Productivity Requirements. My name is Caitlin, and today I'm here with Carmen Eck and Ian Rubin from Regal Beloit Power Transmission Solutions team.
Hi, Caitlin. How are you? And thank you for everybody that joined.
Hi, everyone. Good to be here. Everybody for joining.
So can one of you tell me before we get started just a little bit about why this topic is so important for our audience right now?
Yeah, absolutely. So, there hasn't been a real slowdown in food and beverage due to COVID-19. In fact, some have even seen an uptick, and many facilities are at full throttle on their high demand items in order to keep shelves stocked. So, for example, the equipment producing packaging and packaging syrup for fountain drinks for restaurants and bars, for example, that's running a lot less. That's down. But the machines filling cans and bottles for at-home consumer use is really being pushed to the max. Over half of you have indicated that you're not satisfied with the life of your bearings, gearboxes, and motors. So I really think it's time to talk about the right components for the job to keep equipment running with less interruptions that can be caused by extreme washdown conditions.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like those conditions aren't going away anytime soon either. So before we get started, I just wanted to talk to our audience really quickly and point out the question and answer portion of the webinar. If you have any questions during the presentation or something you'd like to discuss, there is a answer module at the right-hand side of your screen where you can go ahead and post them. We've reserved some time at the end of the webinar to actually speak with some of Regal's SMEs, subject matter experts, and you can pose any questions you'd like. There's also a poll module on the right-hand side where we'll be participating in some polls during the presentation. With that said, Carmen, feel free to get started.
Great, thanks, Caitlin. So welcome, everyone. Really excited to be here with you today to talk about the challenges in extreme washdown environments and how you can address those issues with Regal's Ip69k Certified Solutions. And again, I just want to thank you for taking the time out of your day to tune in and be with us. We do have an interactive webcast prepared for you today. It does include some polling questions as well as a video. Just to remind you, those to do the polling question, there is a spot on the right there. So I do want to take a moment and introduce myself and the rest of the Regal team. I'm Carmen Eck. I'm from Horseheads, New York. I'm the Distribution Marketing Manager, and I've been in the industry for over 15 years. Prior to this role, I was an account manager and helped many unit material handling customers, including those in food and beverage. Also joining me today from Valparaiso, Indiana, and our other presenter is Ian Rubin. He's our Director of Customer Experience. He's been in the industry for over 20 years, and he previously was the Director of Marketing for Bearings. Also joining me is our panel of experts. We have Brian Young, is our Senior Gearing Product Manager. He's also been in the industry for over 20 years. We also have Rob Davis. He's our application engineer, and he's focused on bearings, and he's been in the industry for over 20 years. And we also have Bruce Wagner. He's our food and beverage industry specialist, and he also has been in the industry for over 20 years, so you're probably seeing a trend now. So I do want to start with our first polling question. This first one is a warm-up to get you familiar with using the tool. And again, that polling, it's on the right side of your screen. And just to let you know, too, your specific response won't be visible. We're just going to be able to see the overall polling results. Let's go to that polling question. Hopefully, Caitlin's teed that up. And we're wondering, where in the world are you located? What region of the world are you located? Hopefully, you guys have found that. Again, that's over to the right side of the screen. I believe it says polling. And Caitlin, I'm hoping that you're starting to see some results come in.
Yeah, so far we have a good amount of votes, and it looks like the majority of our audience is tuning in from the U.S., but we still have a lot of people voting still.
Okay, well, while you guys are finishing up with that polling there, I'm going to go on to the agenda. First, we're going to review industry challenges, and we're going to really get into the dynamics of the Rural Balancing Act food and beverage and other unit handling businesses face every day when they're trying to meet their production goals, as well as balance sanitation and safety requirements. We're going to talk a little bit about our integrated solutions that Regal offers with its Ip69k certified products. And then we're going to get into some successes. Ian's going to be talking about some common pain points and solutions that have been implemented by some of our customers. And we really want to share that knowledge with you so you can learn about some of those best practices. And then at the end, we're going to have an Ask Expert session. So if you do have a question during the presentation, go ahead and type that into the Q&A box. That's also on the right near the polling questions. We're going to be watching for these questions, and we're going to pose them to the experts, to our panel of experts, at the end of the session. So we're going to actually go right away into the next polling question. Like I said, this is going to be interactive. So the first question here is, I really want to understand is what is the pain point that's inhibiting production goals for you or your customers? So if you're one of our distributor partners on the call, answer this question with your customer in mind. Those choices, is it component corrosion? Is it reduced maintenance staff? Equipment failure? Or perhaps oil or grease that's leaking out of components that's interrupting plant operations?
It seems like so far people are really interested in learning more about reduced staff, also equipment failure, and component corrosion.
Okay, great. Well, I think we're going to touch on all those things. I think we're going to have some tips in here that everybody's going to be able to find some use out of. So today's focus is really going to be on helping you be successful in your business and how Regal's family of Ip69k certified products can be a resource for you to really help you reduce nuisance maintenance, reduce unplanned downtime, and increase productivity. Extreme washdown, it's a tough environment to maintain those productivity goals. And today we're going to review some very select problem solvers from these premium brands that are Ip69k certified. And hey, if you're not familiar with that Ip69k certification, hey, don't worry. We're going to get to what that means momentarily. First, what I want to do is just review some of the challenges and trends that are prevalent in food, beverage, and other unit handling facilities that face heavy washdown as part of their everyday procedures. Let's take a look at those. As I'm sure most of you know, managers in food, beverage, and unit handling businesses, they're dealing with a lot every day. You really have to be concerned with food safety per FDA guidelines to ensure there's no bacteria buildup, as well as watch for lubrication contamination. But at the same time, you also really need to consider worker safety, such as with exposed shafting. But that exposed shafting, you cover that up, well, that can then lead to an entrapment point. And that really catches you in this predicament with conflicting requirements. All in all, these concerns, they lead to cleaning practices that the FDA outlines with their HACCP guideline, which includes high pressure, clean in place recommendations. Which then, though, that leads the maintenance teams asking procurement to get the proper components. But, what are the right components for the job? Sometimes read and replace is not the answer. And then without the right parts for the job, these cleaning requirements can lead to downtime from corrosion to degraded component life to lubrication issues and nuisance maintenance. And that can really impact the operational goals that you're trying to achieve every day. And, plus now with COVID, machines are really being pushed till parts fail. And this is happening for many reasons. Some being just plain old staff shortages. Other places, they're staggering their work schedules to accommodate for social distancing requirements. And, other facilities are just pushing things to the limit just to keep up with consumer demand. And this is really where, having the right product that's designed to meet the conditions, like extreme washdown, can enable longer life and less interruptions. So in a recent ProFood article around high pressure processing equipment, they talked about an increase that they're seeing in healthier, fresh food that is high pressure sealed in order to give it a longer shelf life. And this is happening really because people are trying to boost their immunity, given today's environment. And this article cited that it's been difficult for manufacturing plants because they're running really hard. So for them to do preventative maintenance, it's really tough. And I think that that's really because they don't want to stop their operations. They're looking to keep the stock of their products stocked on the shelves, and they don't want to take the time to stop and do that preventative maintenance. That's the kind of environment that they're in. The industry is changing, but your equipment might necessarily not be changing. You might not have that luxury of being able to get new equipment. So to get the outcome you seek, you really need to adapt, and it isn't necessarily replacing like-for-like components. You just don't want to be getting on that treadmill. You really need to adapt to the situation that you're in. And it's becoming this balancing act between sanitation and safety and meeting production goals. And I think it's just really about understanding the primary challenges for the specific application and identifying the right parts for the job. Because what's there right now, it might not be suitable as you apply it for the need that you're facing in this moment in time. So, we really like to ask our customers, where are you having these challenges? And then also realize that those challenges might not be the same from one area of the plant to the next. Again, right part for the job per the situation. So let's go to another polling question. Again, that polling is on the right. How often are you replacing the same components due to corrosion? Is it weekly? Are you finding you're replacing those parts on a weekly basis? Or your customer is replacing the parts on a weekly basis? Is it monthly, every 6 months? Or do you tend to see that they're just running to failure? So Caitlin, how are we doing? Are you seeing some of those polling results come in on that one?
Yeah, we have a few votes coming in. It looks like a majority of the audience is really replacing their components monthly or every 6 months. We do have a couple responses as well for yearly, and then some say never.
Yeah, so for those monthly or every 6 months, maybe there's something, a better option. Maybe there's a better option out there, and I think Ian's going to be able to give you some ideas that might extend that life for you some. So this really leads me to, how we really want to help you meet the clean in place guidelines, stay safe, as well as maintain productivity goals. I don't think fighting downtime should be difficult. In fact, I think there are solutions that can help overcome corrosion caused by washdown or contamination, which can be caused by entrapment points. We have bearings, gearboxes, and motors that are Ip69k third-party certified to provide proven durability, longer life, corrosion, and contamination avoidance in these extreme washdown conditions. Again, and I'm going to say this one more time, it really just comes down to about getting the right tool for the job. So let's talk about this Ip69k certificate. This Ip69k third-party certification test, it is aggressive, but it is also short. I want to set the right expectation with you. And it might not accurately reflect real-world washdown in all cases. Some facilities, the cleaning crew might spray for a long time, or some may spray or wash down too close to the components. Variables like this are why we really encourage our customers to review their cleaning processes by watching how it's done by the cleaning crew. Asking, how are they cleaning, and taking a look at that. How long is that bearing being washed down for? Too much might not be needed. So encouraging, a review of those practices is really recommended. So let's talk about the Ip69k certification. So historically, it's been used for the electric motor industry, and it's a rating system that's published by the International Electrotechnical Commission, or IEC. Ip69k certifies parts for water or dry contamination. The IP stands for ingress protection. The 6 indicates a product as dust tight with no dust ingress. And I'm just going to pause here for a second. We've been talking about extreme washdown, but think about areas in the plant that might be really dusty because of a lot of flour. So there's this dust ingress certification part of the IP69K. That's what 6 stands for. The 9K indicates the highest level ranking for a level of water protection. So recently that IP69K test it's become the only certified test for bearings and gearing in our industry. The IP69K rating, it really tells customers how much washdown that this particular product can handle. It also allows us to communicate on a specification basis. So in other words, here's what the product can withstand. And again, I'm going to challenge you to go back into your facility and take a look at how the cleaning crew is doing that wash down, and maybe even asking, hey, what cleaning solution is being used here? In a moment, Ian is going to review common pain points and how to solve them. And he's also going to demonstrate some cost savings. But first, let's watch a short video on IP69K. And hey, when we come back, you're going to hear from Ian.
So, what is the IP69K rating? In an IP rating, the first number stands for the level of dust protection. 6 indicates a product is dust tight with no dust ingress. 9K indicates the level of water protection. An IP69K rated product can withstand a high temperature and high pressure water spray with no water ingress. For the IP69K test, the product is pressure sprayed with water at 14 to 16 liters per minute at 1400 psi from a 4 to 6 inch distance. The water temperature must be 80 degrees Celsius or 176 degrees Fahrenheit and sprayed from angles of 0, 30, 60, and 90 degrees for 30 seconds per angle, while the product is rotated 5 times per minute.
Thank you, Carmen. And hopefully the video gave you a little bit of insight into the IP69K. So, while the IP69K test is aggressive, we all know you can see a lot worse in the real world with operators and cleaning crews holding high pressure wash a lot closer or a lot longer with caustic chemicals that will do a lot more damage. We're going to walk through 4 examples from some of our customers across a few different products. If your plant or customers, are getting 1 month or 6 months of life, as many of you said, failures at 6 months in the poll, there's options to extend that life, and customers should not be settling for 6 months. How do we get from 6 months to 12 months to 24 months? We'll walk through a few examples where we've shown our customer savings, real savings based on reductions in failures. So go to the next slide, please. So the first example is a bakery that they decreased downtime and labor costs. It ended up being a $33,000 annual savings just on one line. So they were using a competitive bearing, failing 2 to 3 times per month. 26 times a year they were running into failures. Think about that with reduced maintenance staffs. Think about that with downtime in general. Do you really want to spend time changing bearings? So our engineering staff worked to analyze the bearing and determined it was a seal failure. So contamination was getting through the seal. We replaced it with a Seal Master P Gold bearing with a triple lip high performance seal, which has proven sealing against contamination and ingress and does a great job retaining lubricant. And those bearings are running still after 24 months. So just think about that. Every bearing was failing 2 to 3 times a month to 24 months. Just think about the hours that were saved in there. So we'll walk through how that turns into a cost savings. So 26 bearing changeouts per year. They got good at changing the bearings. It was 2 hours. Labor rate was $30 per hour. And they calculated their production to be about $600 per hour. So you do the math, it's over $33,000 or just under $33,000, not including the cost of those bearings. So if you're changing that many bearings a year, that's going to add up to, install a bearing and forget about it for over 2 years. So a great savings, and that was one line in the plant. Why why does Sealmaster P and Gold work, or why did it work so well in that application? So we have a reduced maintenance design that allowed them to eliminate relubrication. We have tapered lands that directs lubrication back into the ball path to extend the life even more. The big differentiator is on the top right, which is our high performance seal. It's a triple lip steel made of FKM material, and that rubber elements ride on a 300 series stainless flinger. So there's no wear of the inner ring. There's no breakdown at the seal face from contamination because it's nicely protected on that smooth, clean surface. It's a high phosphorus nickel coating, which gives great corrosion resistant in harsh environments. We have a 316 stainless passivated steel housing or high strength composite. In set screw or squeeze lock, concentric locking, snap on end cap or bolt on end cap, depending on can you accommodate the end cap based on entrapment. And the backside shield could be used as well to help protect the back depending on how aggressive the application is. The bottom left is the bearing that ran in the beverage plant for over 24 months, and you could see the inner ring at the ball path still looks polished. So that seal kept that contamination out. And along the bottom is results from one of our salt fog tests where you could see the phosphorus nickel coating still looks brand new after 144 hours in salt fog versus a 400 series stainless steel, thin dense chrome, and then even a nickel Teflon that are common in the market. So that P and Gold is doing a great job of keeping corrosion off of these surfaces. So that's just the one example on Sealmaster. The next slide is another bakery that was using gearing. So it's a gearing example for Hub City. They were using competitive gearboxes that were leaking oil. The oil was getting in the food, was getting on the floor, causing safety and contamination issues in the product. The plant ran 24/7, so every minute of downtime was critical. And the last thing you'd want to do is have lubricant in food product, so it was highly scrutinized. They also were doing a motor down assembly, which we don't necessarily recommend additional strain on the gearbox. We were able to replace the gearboxes with the Hub City stainless steel Hera gearbox. We were able to increase production time and deliver continuous performance, and got rid of the leaks, got rid of the cleanliness issues that they were having, and did switch them into a motor up design to give them a little bit better long-term operation. Another significant cost savings for them. They were spending $1,250 per month on gearbox changeouts and labor costs. They didn't necessarily have a value that they wanted to give us for downtime, but annually it was $15,000 savings just by making a change in the gearbox and eliminating that grease or that oil leaking into the food product. The Hera design itself gives a lot of good features. Sealing, is paramount. Making sure we have superior sealing in the for the harsh environments with an external V-ring seal. Easily cleanable 316 polished stainless, no coatings that chip or wear off. Hera's an interesting design because it does allow you to standardize in gearing. The 4 Hera drives can cover up to 12 worm gear center distances, so it gives you a broad range of products and a nice 90% efficiency savings over traditional. And because of that, you're able to actually reduce your motor size in certain cases. So another savings, you could downsize your motor, factory filled food grade grease, and then it is compatible with the industry standards for food processing. When you look at a cutaway of the product, you could see sealing is paramount. When you look around some of the features, Viton O-ring, oil seals with V-rings, bearings that are sealed, extra things that are done to make sure we're keeping the contamination out of the product and away from the critical gears and critical bearings inside, and keeping the grease or keeping the oil in the gearbox. The next example we'll go to is in a poultry plant, and their maintenance team was using epoxy or steel-it painted gearboxes. And due to corrosion and peeling, they were changing them every 12 months. So it was calculated that their annual labor cost was about $16,000, and they were spending $130,000 per year on gearboxes. After review and evaluation, we were able to move them into the Grove Gear WashGuard stainless gearbox, which has a mechanical life of based on the application parameters of 500,000 hours, so about 2.5 to 3 year planned life. And the cost of the Grove gearboxes was $232,000 to implement. And they actually did it over a rolling change. And the lead time was much shorter because they're available from stock or short assemble to order lead time, so a few days, versus having to take a standard gearbox, ship it out to get epoxy coated with the Steelite coating. When you look at the cost savings that they were able to achieve, again, another significant save. Over 3 years, they were spending $438,000 on gearboxes. The labor rate, $16,000 plus the gearboxes. By moving them to the Grove stainless, it'd be a spend of $232,000. So just in 3 years, they were able to save over $200,000. So a dramatic cost savings for them and elimination of the corrosion and the problems that they would have in the plant, causing them violations and other problems. The superior sealing of the washguard design, internal V-ring seal, easily cleanable 316 stainless, 7 sizes, mechanically and dimensionally interchangeable with most major brands. Power rating up to 10 horsepower and a torque rating of 2,700 inch-pounds, so it has the torque needed. Food grade lubricant and center distance of 1.33 to 3.25 center distances. So it gives you a good range of product for the applications that are needed. And again, it will drop right in the application. Looking at the cutaway, again, like the Hera design, the Grove worm design, sealing is paramount. How do we keep contamination out? How do we keep oil in with the different oil or V-ring seals, O-rings, things, a little added attention and a little extra detail to keep that, again, contamination out and lubrication in. The next example we'll show is in a beef processing plant with the Leeson washdown motor. So they were processing 10,000 cattle per week and had 600 motors in the facility, and their motor life was 3 months to 12 months. So those 600 motors, some of them were replaced multiple times in a year, and they were experiencing downtime costs of $500 per minute, and they averaged 10 minutes to change out a motor. 10 minutes is pretty quick to change out a motor, so you could tell they got really good changing out those motors on a regular basis. The one change was about $5,000 in cost to them. We did a 3-year study with them. So 2012, they replaced 278 motors at a cost of $5,000 each, so $1.3 million in 1 year on motors. 2017, after they were using the Leeson motors, they only had to change out 107, savings or a total cost of $520,000, resulting in an $870,000 save across the period. And then the purchase price on the motors, they saved $70,000 in motor costs. So annualized, it's almost $1 million over the 5 years to almost $200,000 on an annual basis, just by getting the right product in the application to prevent the failures that they were experiencing. So again, they were seeing 3 to 12 months into multiple year life with the motor and save them dramatically. It's what's inside again, like the gearbox designs. It's how do you keep contamination out with a fully encapsulated internal epoxy encapsulation. So we've filled it, all the voids are full. 2-piece shaft technology, durable Viton seals to keep contamination out, O-ring sealed conduit box. In our testing, we found that was a leak point. Process fluids or cleaning fluids were getting into the motor, running down the conduit, so we took care of that. 300 series stainless steel, so getting the best corrosion resistant capable. Easily removable rotor cartridge and a full fact nameplate, so it's easy to identify and easy to replace as needed, so you don't need to guess at what gearbox and that motor and the nameplate will withstand corrosion resistance. So you're not going to be worrying about it in 2 years, what you may be using. So 4 examples, we have countless more examples of where we've solved problems, true documented cost savings by getting customers into the right product. And use chat, and you could contact us, and we'll give you an option to connect with us to talk about more specific applications.
Yeah, thanks, Ian. So, just to reiterate, There is probably a link that's being posted in the chat box right about now. It gives you the opportunity to book time with either myself or with Ian. We'd be happy to, talk to you about your application and, get you to somebody who can locally support you and discuss your application needs in detail. We really believe Regal's got you covered when it comes to the extreme washdown environments that many of you are living in today. And in addition to the IP69K products that we talked about that Ian gave you examples on, we also have our Browning Crest stainless steel line, our System Plast composite housing bearings with composite housing, and our McGill Crest cam roll bearings as well. And hey, coming soon, this is a sneak peek into a new product that's soon to hit the market. It's our Sealmaster USRB PN Gold. This actually is the world's first catalog fully washed down mounted spherical unit. So keep on the lookout for that. Also want to let you know there's lots of ways to find information or contact us. Again, there is this booking tool that's being posted into the Q&A, into the chat box. And that allows you to just go ahead and click on that tool and pick a time that works for you. It's just in 15-minute increments. And if you if yourself or you have a customer that's got some downtime issues due to extreme washdown, get in touch with us. We're happy to help get you going in the right direction and help you get the right part for the job. In terms of other places that you can get information on Regal or our products, there's a lot of information out there on regalbeloit.com. There's also a live chat on regalbeloit.com, as well as many pages. There's a contact our experts button, and that will get you in touch with one of our specialists. Certainly follow us on social media. Lots of videos out there on our YouTube channel. There's installation support. There's lots of different tips to help you solve your problems. We just recently kicked off our real world solution videos. And then we also have our mobile app. It's called the Regal PT mobile app. And that's really great because it helps you put asset management right in the palm of your hand. And that app also includes installation instructions. It's a lifeline to get you in touch with our application engineering group, and lots of other information in there right directly from the app. From a phone or email perspective, you can always reach out to our customer service group for help, as well as our application engineering team. So with that, I'm going to kick off I'm actually going to turn it back over to Caitlin, and she's going to kick off the panel of experts session.
Yeah, Carmen and Ian, thank you both so much for tuning in with us today. Absolutely great presentation. And as Carmen mentioned, before we end for the day, we are going to move on to a few questions with our SMEs. So let me just get all set up here really quickly. And our first question is going to be for Bruce. So Bruce, I'm using a composite housing and a stainless steel insert with set screws, but I'm having a difficult time getting set screws staying locked, and in some situations, the inner races are cracking. What suggestions would you make, because I'm not feeling like I'm winning the bearing war? And I saw that you kind of responded a little bit in the chat, but can you kind of expand on that for our audience?
Yeah, no problem. I mean, cracking inner races is a common issue. A lot of times it's, stainless steel is just not stainless steel, and the way that metallurgic, in terms of how it's hardened. What's happening is that you're over tightening the set screws in a lot of situations, and that's actually is what's cracking the inner race. It could be a situation too that it's a hardened inner ring. And when you're tightening the set screws, if you do have a tendency to over tight because you're really trying to get the set screws to bite into the stainless steel shaft, that's causing an issue, and that will eventually cause the inner races to crack. And even in situations where you're tightening the set screws properly, if you're using a lot of chlorine, you can actually get chlorine embrittlement, and you'll actually get the inner races to crack that way. So a suggestion would end up being either look at a bearing with a little different inner race hardening mechanism or means, or actually go to an alternative locking mechanism like squeeze lock.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Our next question is going to be for Rob. Rob, I am constantly losing drive-mounted side 2 bolt flange bearings on my conveyors. Deposit house bearings and the inserts start rotating in the housing, and then that's when the failures begin. I need corrosion protection due to the incidental washdown. Do you have any idea on what's going on?
Yeah, on drive assemblies where you've got an overhung gearbox sitting on the end of the shaft, that's a lot of weight at the end of the shaft, which can cause a little bit of shaft flexure, which can kind of work the bearing in that housing over time, and composites just aren't quite as wear resistant as stainless steel might be. And it's not uncommon to have the bearing work loose in the housing, maybe spin in the housing, and worst case, even the composite housing breaking, causing some equipment damage, where moving to a stainless steel housed bearing should help address a number of those factors. And if they are also having issues with bearings not being able to hold lock to the shaft with that overhung drive, going to a different locking mechanism can sometimes help. More of a friction grip versus a set screw design will better hold to the shaft.
Great, Rob, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And it looks like we do have one more question. Again, there still is a little bit of time to post questions, but this one is going to be for Brian. So Brian, the question is, what is the standard seal material Ip69k certified gear reducer, and why?
That's a really good question. We use an FKM, or more commonly known as Niton, which is a registered trademark in the material. And the reason we do that is FKM has a broader temperature range and a more extensive chemical resistance range than the standard NBR or nitrile.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Brian. I don't see any more questions for today. So in that case, we'll go ahead and wrap up. This will be recorded, and you'll have access to the Regal Beloit team via that link in the chat, and we'll also send it a little bit later. Thank you so much for joining us today, and have a great day.